Life. What is real anymore? It's time to pull back the curtains of reality and explore life in the hologram. We've unlocked our library hidden deep within the Matrix and are ready to take you on a tour of the cosmos. Come in as we discuss everything from spirituality, psychics, healers, ghosts, as well as UFOs, and the unknown. It's time to forget what you think you know and explore life in the hologram.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's a good something somewhere in the universe as we speak. And welcome to Life in the Hologram on Revolution Radio with Madeline Rudy and Caroline Bell Tumblety. And we have a great show planned for you tonight. And this is what our little card has to say today. Multiple goodness and well-being. Amplify loving kindness, increase clarity, peace, and understanding, improve clarity of mind and emotions.
Ooh.
So, and I guess, should we say Happy Good Friday? Is Good Friday a happy day?
Well, it's Good Friday, right?
Yeah, it's a good
Friday. Yeah, instead of a bad Friday.
It was bad for some, but good for others.
Yeah. But I liked that card. I did like that card. Then it is Easter weekend for those who celebrate. So happy Easter to everybody. And we have an awesome guest. So excited. Need to get glasses on here. Okay, we have Constance Victoria Briggs. Is an author, researcher, and public speaker specializing in cosmic mysteries, including galactic and moon mysteries, ancient astronauts, extraterrestrials, angels, and the unseen world. She is the author of Earth's Galactic History and its Extraterrestrial Connection. The Moon's Galactic History, a look at the Moon's extraterrestrial past and its connections to Earth. The Encyclopedia of the Moon, mysteries, secrets, conspiracies, theories, anomalies, extraterrestrials, and more. Encyclopedia of the Unseen World, the ultimate guide to apparitions, deathbed visions, mediums, shadow people, wandering spirits, and much, much more. Encyclopedia of God and an A to Z guide to thoughts, ideas, and beliefs about God. The Encyclopedia of Angels and an A to Z guide with nearly 4,000 entries. Briggs is a regular invited guest speaker on numerous radio shows, podcasts, and YouTube shows. Some of the prominent shows Briggs has been featured on include Coast to Coast with George Noory, The Leak Project, Earth Ancients, Broadcast Team Alpha, Forbidden Knowledge, Spaced Out Radio, and others. Briggs has also been featured in Shadows of Your Mind magazine and UNX magazine. Briggs has been a speaker at conferences such as Total Disclosure, Inner Truth Summit, and Watchers Talk Humanity. Unplugged Conference. Briggs has also been featured in the Women on the Fringe anthology, due out in spring 2024. It is Briggs' goal to investigate the mysteries of the universe and how they connect to humanity. And I'll let Constance Victoria Briggs give out all her information, so that everybody can know how to reach her. And a welcome, Constance.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for having me here this evening.
Absolutely. Tell us how you got involved with all of this, and you keep writing all these wonderful books. My gosh.
Yeah, you know what? I have 2 adult children now. I have time on my hands to write down everything I've always wanted to write instead of going to baton practice and all of this, stuff that you do when you're growing up and all the activities. So, yeah, I've got time to write, so I'm writing. So basically, I started out as an author of spiritual and metaphysical books. As you said, I dealt with angels. I wrote a book about who and what God is, and the Encyclopedia of the Unseen World. I loved, delving into those topics and finding out what lies beyond, death and, who is out there. But my passion, that was a passion, but my greatest passion has been dealing with the cosmos, the idea that we're not alone in the universe. And if we're not alone in the universe, I wanted to know who and what's out there and how it affects us.
Yeah.
These are big questions.
Yeah, that's how I started, trying to answer questions. I don't like to be in the dark.
I like that. Yeah.
Did you have any visitations?
There is visitations and there are visitations. And so I can say that I have always had what I believe are spirit guides around me. I've always felt them. And, I've had, I feel like they're around me and they, like many of us, they are guiding us and giving us information. If you mean, did my spirit guides, sometimes I call them my star guides. These days I'm calling them my star guides. They haven't made a physical appearance lately. I did have an experience when I was 14 where I saw a being in a long gown and a high collar that was reaching out to me, and so I did see that person many, many years ago. And I have felt presences, both good and bad, in my life. As far as extraterrestrial visitation, no. I'm not one of those people who have seen extraterrestrials in my bedroom, So no, not in that sense.
And you just wrote a recent book?
Yeah. So my last book is Earth's Galactic History and its Extraterrestrial Connection. So when I started doing the research into the metaphysical, I was having a lot of stories that were crossing my path. And I am a collector of stories and information. And I kind of throw them, in files. And so I started out writing about the moon. Yeah, I was having, when you have research, things were coming through past my desk and all of this. And that was my first venture into the cosmos and writing books on them. I wrote the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries, the moon's galactic history and its extraterrestrial connection. And then that led to Earth's galactic history, because by that time I have done so much research. I just had to put it in a book, right? But also, after doing so much public speaking about the moon, people were having questions about Earth, what we're seeing in the skies above Earth. With all of the cameras that everyone's carrying in their pockets these days, there's no denying that there's plenty going on in our skies. Many people are seeing UFOs. Now, we used to refer to a UFO as it means unidentified flying object, right? But today, that definition kind of has taken a turn. And when people are saying UFOs, they really mean they're seeing ships. All right. And so with the cameras that everyone's carrying, there are so many videos and pictures, out there, and people have questions. What is that? Some are just, so shocked and stunned. What am I seeing? There have been people that have taken pictures of extraterrestrials. It's very interesting. Extraterrestrials and strange beings that they can't identify, of course, and they want answers. So when I wrote this book, I was hoping to answer questions of people who don't have their hands in this information all the time. I wanted to take them back to the beginning of our humanity's history, when we actually have writings and drawings and information about being visited way back when, and confirmation and evidence. And I brought that right up until today. And so I kind of took people on a journey of this. And they have questions. Hopefully they can look at that book and get some answers.
Yeah. So in what way do you believe the Earth and humanity are connected to extraterrestrials?
Wow. Yeah. So we have, like I just said, a long history of extraterrestrial connection. For those just hearing that information, they're going to be startled, some of them skeptic, not believing, because it really takes someone who is involved in researching this stuff to get it in the beginning. But yeah, Earth has a long history. So I believe that our history started as early as the origins, dealing with the origins of life on Earth. I believe that the Earth itself had a sort of extraterrestrial contact in all of the life here. Now, I say that and people say, no, life was created by God in 6 days, or life, came out of, evolution and out of the ocean and started walking and crawling around and flying. But actually, if you look at it from a scientific view, there are scientists who say, we really don't know how life started on Earth. And they have said that's a problem. They have their theories, of course, and people hold the theories, to heart because we have nothing else. But I believe that we need to think out of the box if we want answers. And I wonder personally if Earth was, terraformed by extraterrestrials. If you're going to look at the idea of, back to, scriptures or mythologies or writings, and you say, the Earth was, life was created in a certain amount of time, okay, but maybe we're looking at some kind of terraforming. There is a idea out there called the panspermia, theory, where it's believed that extraterrestrials may have sent the seeds of life to Earth, and actually throughout the galaxy and even the solar system, trying to see where intelligent life would land. But there's also the idea of directed panspermia, where they actually looked at Earth and said, great place to create life perhaps, and directed seeds here, and that may be how Earth started. So I started out writing about that in the book, and I connected through theory and speculation whether or not we had some assistance on Earth with extraterrestrials. But the next part of the answer to that question, and I know I talk a lot, so let me,
That's great. Yeah.
Just jump in.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm a little long-winded. There is also the possibility that with the life that was seeded here, either extraterrestrials, as so many are saying these days, came in and tampered with perhaps the DNA in some of the life here and created humans, or altogether created humans and put them here on Earth. Or there is a possibility that, for whatever reason, there were extraterrestrials, humanoid extraterrestrials, that were forced to come to Earth and populate the Earth and colonize the Earth. I say that, on a lot of shows, I talk about how we are a young species of being. We're just really getting our footing in the universe. As much as humanity likes to think that we have been the center of the universe and that we are at the pinnacle of technology, we could have been and I believe we are, in a galaxy, in a universe full of life and full of beings that have existed for hundreds, thousands, millions, even billions ahead of us. So what we consider, interesting ideas in technology, maybe one day we'll colonize, Mars or the moon or Mars or elsewhere. Maybe there are already extraterrestrials that have the technology, that have the science, that are doing it because they're so far ahead of us.
Makes sense.
That's why we're connected.
I'd say so. Well, I mean, if you look at all the hieroglyphics in the different caves and, places where these hieroglyphics are on the walls, it's telling you that, there were space beings here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the depicting the aerial phenomenon. Like,
right.
who is it? Jeff Wilwine, he covers all that, like the petroglyphs in the sky. Yeah, it's really interesting.
And we can't be the most intelligent form here in this planet. I can't believe that.
There's plenty of people who do, that's normal for most people.
I know.
No.
It's like, really? If you're still into killing your brothers and sisters, you haven't evolved.
No.
Spiritually, humanity has issues, and that is a theory, that extraterrestrials may be avoiding us. That's a theory, until we can get our act together. Like you said, we're still in the stages of primitive warfare. We have cell phones that we can carry around with, this tiny computer, but we're still killing each other, and they think it's okay. They think that's right. Casualties of war. It's a war. It's casualties of war. So it's okay to kill them.
No.
In every war, since the beginning, there has been that thought. That thought hasn't changed. You still hear it. So there is a thought that extraterrestrials are waiting for us to get together, to get ourselves together. I don't know if you've seen these comical memes going by where on the social media where they show extraterrestrials in ships and they're flying by and they're like, okay, there's Earth, lock your doors.
Right. Keep flying.
Yep.
No intelligent life form will port the mission. Get us out.
Right? Jeez.
Yeah. I can elaborate on that a little if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have an interesting story to tell. So there is a gentleman, and you ladies may or may not know of him. He's been around for many years giving lectures. His name is Alex Collier. Mm-hmm. And he is an ambassador to the Andromedan race of extraterrestrials out there. And one of the things that I found fascinating is that they told him if we, basically don't get ourselves together, that extraterrestrials are waiting for us to grow up. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get ourselves together, they're going to have to, do some kind of intervention. They're holding off in the galaxy. Maybe the hierarchies are holding off, letting us know about them directly, having, mass contact or first contact like we've all wished for that we see in the movies. But they're saying they may have to step in sooner than later because, we're destroying the Earth and we're destroying,
each other.
Life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they may have to let us know sooner than later that they're out there. And that if we don't grow up, there may be consequences for us. Now, who knows what that means?
Right.
But it is an interesting thought because the idea, as he said, is that we, with like nuclear weaponry, we can affect the rest of the galaxy and other worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't even know why they let our spaceships go out to the moon or to Mars. If it was me guarding the galaxy, there would be some kind of belt around there where these folks can't get out.
I think that movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, like when they have like that big robot that's there and they're basically there to kind of judge the Earth. I think of that movie. Is it The Day the Earth Stood Still? I think that was the name of it.
Well, what do we know what's going on in the moon? I mean, I've read a couple of articles where it's saying there's all kinds of different species on the moon already.
Yeah, the moon is so interesting for me because, like most people, I grew up thinking that the moon is just this beautiful dead rock in the sky. Mm-hmm. And, in my research over the years, and I learned that, there's someone up there. And that was a shock to my system. I'm like, I'm living my life on Earth all those years and I didn't know. Well, basically, I've written 2 books on the moon, and so there could be one race or several races on the moon. And the thought is that perhaps extraterrestrials came in with the moon. Apparently, there is the idea that the moon is not natural and that it was brought in to Earth's vicinity to perhaps aid Earth in developing life. Or it was brought here for other reasons that we don't know with someone on it. And so when the Apollo missions went up in the 60s and early 70s,
did they?
Sorry? Did they?
Or did they?
Right. I can say, we don't need the Apollo missions to convince us that there's someone on the moon. Mm-hmm. Icing on the cake. So, if they did go, and I believe they did, then they brought back rocks and things that were examined by the scientists. And there were a couple of scientists out of Russia who wrote a paper on the moon, and they basically said that they feel that the moon was a ship that was brought across the universe and placed here, that when they looked at what the moon was made of, that this wasn't, natural. And it looked like some kind of, it's got a very strong hull, impenetrable hull, all right? And they actually stated that they think there's engines in there and all kinds of equipment.
Yeah, they think there's a lot of things inside.
Mm-hmm. For people to survive. So one theory is that the moon is a generation ship that is designed to look like a natural planetary body, for whatever reason. Maybe there's some nefarious, ETs out there that would have bothered it, but that it was artificial looking, so it wouldn't be picked up on that people were in it, and that it was a generation ship that came across the universe. When I say generation ship, meaning that there have people in it, and some people died and were born, and it took a long time to come across, perhaps. And that's what they were saying. These scientists put their reputations on the line in the 70s, and they were Russian scientists, and I don't believe that they would have come out with some wild theory if they didn't have what they thought was evidence. And they said that it was Apollo missions that convinced them of that when they looked at the fact that the moon reverberated for, hours, that it shouldn't have done that. It shouldn't be hollow. Even NASA said it at the time. They said, we don't know what's going on. The moon shouldn't be shaking. When they crashed a ascent stage, part of the lunar module. They sent it into the moon, and it said, you remember they said it rang like a bell? Mm-hmm. Well, they said even the NASA scientists said that shouldn't be happening. So that's the short of it. They think that someone is in there and they may have come across. Now, the question is, when they came across the universe and they parked here, did the extraterrestrials leave the ship and some of them come to Earth? Okay? And the other thing is, because we have found so many structures, we have found structures on the moon since the beginning. With them sending up lunar orbiters, they were finding structures. Richard Hoagland and Michael Barra wrote a book. They wrote books on this, and they found these structures. Some of them look like partial structures, and there were other things, buildings, something that looked like a satellite, towers. So those are there. And people are still finding things today because of all the cameras. So we have those partial looking structures as if there was a war on the moon. And then we also have structures today where we're seeing buildings and roads and tubes and all kinds of stuff. So, it could be the same beings that came in with the moon, or the moon could have been vacated many years ago and someone else came in. We just don't know.
Right.
What's interesting is that there was what looked like lights blinking all over the moon, and somebody had said it kind of looked like a sort of like a Morse code kind of thing. And the question was, are there beings on the moon that were trying to let us know they're there? Are there beings?
Go home.
Right. Well, no, trying to reach us on Earth, not the astronauts.
They're saying, go home.
Or stay home, right? Or were they trying to reach us to let them know they're there? Is this a whole different species than the ones who are sophisticated and building things? Not only are there buildings, but there are what looks like ships, that look like they're lined up on craters of the moon. There is video of fleets of UFOs leaving the moon, and the question is, are they coming here? So I can go on with the moon for, all the show.
Well, the thing is, I don't know why they would come here. Yeah. Do you?
Resources, maybe. Okay. So
wasn't that why they populated the Earth, or they were sending the beings or trying to create a being like us to do work for them to mine the minerals here, that they needed them on whichever planet that they were taking them to. I mean, that was the theory.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're speaking about the Anunnaki. Yeah, so that's one thing. Okay, so the Anunnaki are they're said to be the creators of humans. Now, the Anunnaki themselves some were believed to be humanoid, and then some of them were believed to be another species or a mix of species. Apparently, their planet, which we know as Nibiru, is supposed to be full of, different kinds of beings on there. This is what we're saying. But as far as we know, they were humanoid that came and used their DNA to mix with primates on Earth, and this comes from the Sumerian scriptures, which are very, very, very similar to the Genesis story. And the idea was that they were an advanced species who found themselves in trouble. Their planet was dying due to their atmosphere, and they needed gold. Which, I mean, when we see gold, we think of jewelry, and we think of that kind of thing, but not
cash flow.
Right.
Cash flow.
No,
yeah.
Apparently it can be, because of what it's made of, and I'm not a scientist to explain it, but they needed it for their atmosphere. So they came here, they came with workers, they brought workers with them, but the workers got tired of the work and rebelled, and it was a big to-do.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. It was a big to-do. And so the two brothers who had come to lead this mission, their father had sent them from Nibiru, and apparently they were princes, and they had all this tech and science, and they were instructed, okay, create helpers. So they have the technology that we are trying to achieve today by cloning, and, all of this AI and, creating, just trying to create life. Maybe we are some kind of sentient biological AI, right?
But the fascinating part is they want to create life, but they're trying to kill off the life they already have.
You are so right, Madeline.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, why are you trying to create life if you're trying to kill half the population because there's too many?
Yeah.
That's a contradiction, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see it. I can see it. Caroline can see it. Caroline?
Yes,
sorry.
Caroline. Yeah,
Caroline,
no, you're okay.
can see it, but others can't see it. They're not even thinking about it.
No, they're not.
So anyway, as far as the minerals and the resources go, they had come to collect the gold, and they created humanity, and we were a slave race for a long time until we were we were freed, which is a long story, but we were freed, in the end because of another upheaval and to-do. But there has been a story in the news not too long ago. I saw that gold is missing on Earth. It never explained what gold where, but that we can't explain where some of the gold is going or where the gold is. So the question I have, that the article didn't, I have, is, are there beings out there that are still collecting gold and taking it? And there was a theory that the gold is being taken off Earth and to the moon because the Anunnaki is said to have been maybe the ones who brought it in, in hiding it on the other side of the moon and then sending it off planet. That is a theory. And a speculation, and it does sound a little far-fetched, but, there you have it. There it is. Another thing they are looking at or using is water. Today, there are people that have come forward and saying they witnessed UFOs taking water off the Earth.
Really?
All right? And what are they doing with that water? Do they need the water, or are they studying, scientifically studying the water? And if they're taking that, what else are they taking? Well, we all know the stories of the abductions, which I don't spend a lot of time talking about. I find them so utterly disturbing. And I don't like to, maybe do them an injustice of what people went through because I haven't experienced that. But that has been a thing of the past of, cattle mutilations and abductions and that kind of thing. So it's my understanding too, and I heard a lady say, a ufologist say the other day that that's not true, that they're still going on. But I have heard that they stopped. I don't know for sure, but I haven't heard anything lately about abductions currently, but there is a lot in the past. Putting that aside, what else might they be taking from the Earth? I have a story in my book about a strange looking antenna that is in one of the oceans, and nobody understands where it came from or what it's there for. And, something that it could have been placed there by extraterrestrials that are, using it for, something going on in the ocean. There's some strange holes being found at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe they're, taking things from down there. So, yes, they might be using Earth resources.
Mm-hmm. So they could
they're going to be surprised when they get the water.
Why?
I don't think all the water here is so good.
Well, yeah.
Don't drink it.
Well, maybe they're going to clean it.
Oh, good.
Maybe it's no all downhill.
Well, I had that thought too, but
yeah,
they'll be surprised if they, investigate it. Go ahead, Caroline. You had a question.
No.
That. They might be trying to clean it. I like that.
Yeah. Well, the next question was actually, do you believe extraterrestrials are still visiting Earth today? And that was pretty much, I think you were saying maybe. It's possible.
I think it's even beyond, excuse me, I'm just taking resources. I think they're here. And I have many reasons behind that statement. When you're a researcher, you come across information that the average person doesn't. And I saw, for example, something from two different people who had accidentally taken pictures with their cameras of what looked like the same creature. All right. Now, this was a little guy. He looked very similar to a gray, except he was green. Maybe 3 feet. And the lady developed her they don't develop film anymore, guys. Sorry. The lady saw her picture on the phone, and she had gone on social media and posted it. And, there's so many stories. I don't believe everybody's lying. Okay, people might say, oh, it's a fantasy. They're making things up.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, we have so many stories, right? Mm-hmm. And people are doing this for what reason? They're not getting money or anything. Anyway, she took this picture, and she said, I saw this crossing the road. It's crossing the road on my picture. I can't believe it. And then I came across someone from another part of the world who had a very similar picture saying almost the same thing. 2 different areas. So I could see it. Now, they may not, of course, see it. But when you're doing research, you're looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, that's the same creature. And then there's this other creature. I don't know if this is an ET or something from Inner Earth. If they're white, and I've seen them so many times now on video, and people are capturing these things. They may have originated here, but here's an example. They look very ET-like. They're white and they crawl. And they move very fast. They are crawlers. They look humanoid, but they're crawlers. Some people call them pale crawlers. And I have seen these all over the place on different videos. And then there was this, if you can imagine a humanoid or a gray, you all know what the gray aliens look like. I'm just trying to throw this out there. Imagine one of those, as tall as a human, all white and naked. All right? And they don't walk upright. They crawl. So this one kid was all excited. I've been looking at these things for years. I started to write a book about it. He saw on his rooftop one of these things, and he was filming it. And he says, I've got an alien on my rooftop. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I know what that is. And it was so clear, right? And for anybody looking at it, they would have thought it was an alien. But my point to this story is I've seen them at different places by different people putting up pictures. So, yes, what those are, I don't know. But, we're being visited. We're being visited if those are from Inner Earth, because sometimes I wonder if that is, or if they came here, or whatever they are. I think they fall under the category of cryptids. But the little green guys that I talked about could have been ETs. And then there are people who have stories of having conversations with humanoid extraterrestrials. They are not presenting themselves to the masses just yet, but they are here, and people have met them. Now, there's this one man, and you can look him up if you haven't heard of him. Very fascinating. His name is Charles Hall, and he has a few books out there.
Yeah, I had him on the show already.
Right? He says he worked with the tall whites.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when we were having the hearings on the Hill of Congress, and David Gersh was there, I was like, why don't they call him Charles Hall? I mean, he's come forward. He has dates. He has times. He has where he served. And I'm like, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, maybe. But that's clear visitation. You've got someone right there.
Well, they say they go to the casinos out in Las Vegas. And Charles also said that there's like I don't know if it's a village or whatever, like in Florida, near the Georgia-Florida line. Yeah, where these people live.
They're here. Wow. They're here, and it's not just tall whites. There are humanoids. Right. In my book, I talk about some extraterrestrial races that are so close to how we look that we wouldn't know the difference. The tall whites, you can tell the difference.
Yeah,
they're
a little
tall
bit.
And they're thin, and they're very, very white.
Yeah, you would think, oh, that's an albino person,
Yeah. They're pretty fragile, too. And I hear that they're kind of skittish too. But anyway, they're here. They're living, I believe, among us, working among us. I have even, there was a young man on social media recently, and I don't think he was trying to gain any fame. He was shocked. And he was saying he was standing in line in a Home Depot, and he saw someone's eyes change. And he said to him they looked very extraterrestrial-like. And the guy, whoever it was, knew that he saw his strange eyes. And he said, I'm just trying to make a living here like anyone else. Right?
Whoa.
Well, that would be sucky if you got dropped off on a ship and you have to work, for God's sake. Why didn't they leave you with some money?
Right.
Maybe he had a remodeling project he was doing. Maybe more were coming.
Wow. But people, there was that lady on that airplane flight, right? That she was like, that person's not human. And then she kind of changed her story, and then she changed it again. It's really bizarre. Like, it's like something's going on.
Yeah, she tried to explain that away. I wasn't buying it.
No.
You know, because I have my hands in this work, if I saw one, I can't say I'd be freaking out. But for the normal person out there, the average person, they're going to freak out because, and this is what a problem I have with the whole thing, is we're not taught about these things. Okay? If we were taught from a young age, hey, we're not alone in the universe, and there's a good chance that we're being visited, you know, maybe people wouldn't be, you know, they'd at least be aware that, you know, something can happen, just like all of the paranormal activity. You know, if you don't know it exists, if you know, if no one's ever told you, then you're going to be shocked if you see something walk through your house, your wall, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I never ever, as a kid, thought that this was all there is. It's like, we can't be the only people in this universe. Yeah. Even as a little kid, it's like, you know, what's it all about?
Yeah. I think what it is, too, is some of the stories don't make any sense that we're told. You know, like about, like, the creation, for one thing, or the Big Bang. Like, you start questioning things. You start looking at things.
Right.
Yeah, Adam and Eve, you know, their two sons, Cain and Abel, had to be going making babies with their mother. To procreate the earth, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. You know, I have a very good story about that. I like to throw this in there whenever I hear about Cain and Abel. All right. So if you're going to go with that story, Cain killed Abel. Cain was thrown out of the garden. It's a story, right? You know what Cain said? You can't throw me out there. You can't put me out there. They will kill me. Who is they? If they were the first family, who is they? Who is he scared of? And then it says, you know, a mark was put on him so that he wouldn't be touched, you know. And I'm like, okay, who is they? So that was very interesting for me. Lots of unanswered questions there. But so I think that, interestingly enough, since I think that there are advanced extraterrestrial civilizations out there. And, you know, my thought, of course, is looking at our history. You'd have to get my book to understand what I'm saying. But, you know, getting, you know, a whole history of UFOs and obviously beings with advanced technology, if they are worlds, you know, governments to themselves, just like on the moon, there may be, you know, the moon itself may be a foreign country with a government and, you know, all this going on, then they've got the technology to travel space, and they could be coming to Earth, you know, on a field trip to study some new planet. You know, there's a Star Trek show called Strange New Worlds. That was the whole thing with Captain Kirk and his gang. They're, you know, going out to discover strange new worlds, and the new show is called that. You know, Earth could be the strange new world for other beings. Other beings could be traveling and exploring, and they come here to check us out. They come here to, you know, look at Earth. There seems to be several races. That could be one. Of course, there could be those that would like to take over Earth, those using resources from Earth, but it could just be those that are scientists somewhere in the galaxy that want to see this strange new world. So we could be visited for many, many reasons.
Well, don't they have some kind of tribes like in South America and Africa?
Dogon, yeah.
Where
Dogon
they, and Australia, where they have, you know, interacted with extraterrestrials or space brothers or whatever you want to call them.
Yes. So, definitely in ancient times, they, you know, for whatever reason, ancient times, not even that far back, we've had stories of extraterrestrials communicating with these tribes, as you said. That may be where the story of the moon started, because there is a I'm believing the extraterrestrials came in and brought the story of the moon. And the reason is because there's a story out of Bolivia where there's an ancient artifact called the Sun Gate, where it's still standing. It's this big doorway, symbols and writings on it that talk about how the moon got here. Outside of the Russian scientists, they said this in this old artifact that it was brought in, and it caused havoc on Earth when it came into Earth's vicinity. Now, I don't think that the ancients were lying. I do believe that they were given this information by advanced beings, And on these symbols, they have what look like space beings. They look like somebody wearing helmets, like our astronauts. Very interesting. And then the Dogon people, I got a call into one show because I wasn't saying it correctly. So let me know if I'm not saying it as Dogon or Doggin. Yeah, someone called in to Coast to Coast. Yeah, and said she's not saying that right. Anyway. So basically what happened with them is they were visited, this tribe out of South Africa, they were visited and by the Nomos, a group of extraterrestrial beings called the Nomos. This is well documented, and the Dogon people had information about our galaxy, about our solar system, that they shouldn't have known because they were a primitive tribe of beings. But they said they were visited by beings that came and landed. They described the ship. And they were saying when they landed, all of this, sand was actually kicking up and it made a noise when this thing came down. And these creatures came out of it, and they called themselves the Nomos, and they gave them information about Sirius A, Sirius B, and a whole lot of other things that we didn't know ourselves, all right, till recently. And so that's the story with them, and they weren't the only ones that were visited, because in our history, we know that there are, all over the earth, there are tales of star people that came in ships that landed and helped humanity. All right, they weren't the only ones. But I have to tell you my take on the Dogon. Is that they were aquatic beings. And I have a chapter in my book on, chapter 4, the Ocean's Earth Final Frontier. Maybe I could get into that a little bit. Pardon me, please. Maybe I can get into that a little. But these Dogon, I don't remember anywhere in the story, unless I missed it, that they left. I heard they landed, but did they leave?
I don't think any of them left.
No, I don't think so.
Right, because my chapter is based on beings that have been seen in the oceans.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them are in all of the oceans all over.
Right. So I just was wondering if these beings that we're seeing and hearing about today, and I say seen because, yes, beings have been seen that look like extraterrestrials in our oceans and reported on. Even the Russian scientist.
Aren't they more fish-like?
No. That's the whole thing. They're humanoid. They're not like mer people. And I do believe in mer people, but that's another show. All right. I believe there's a lot going on down there.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
If you want me to get into that, I will.
This is great. We've got quite a flow here.
Yeah.
But, I can get into the oceans whenever you're ready.
Well, go ahead. We like the ocean.
Please. We do. I love the ocean.
You know what? This was the first chapter in the Earth's galactic history. I loved the story of what, the idea of there being beings in the ocean. And anyway, so there was a lady on social media that came forward, and I couldn't reach her. She wrote this thing out. Well, her friend wrote it out, and I even though she put her name and the agency that she worked for, I decided not to share it because I could see where she might get in trouble for telling it. But I decided to put it in my book without the confirmation because it was so similar to stories that have confirmation. So she said that she and her friends, she and coworkers visited a beach one year. They were called in because there were beached whales. And the whales, were dead, and it looked to them as like someone had taken a laser gun and taken out the meat of the whale with some kind of, it looked like cylinders taken out of the whale. Somebody was eating whale meat, and it wasn't the people that lived there, okay? And they were sure of that. They did their investigation and all of that, and this is how the whales came up and died. So they brought in special equipment, and they did find humanoid beings in the ocean, and they followed these guys. And these guys, she said, had weapons. They fired. They sent a submersible down as deep as they could go with special equipment. These beings were humanoid, tall, thin, and they had weaponry, and they fired on the submersible. And they said she said they swam very fast, but they didn't swim like us. They didn't swim like a fish, that they moved very jerky and very quickly. And they had their suits look like they were like some kind of moving mercurial kind of suit. Mm-hmm. And she said they also found habitats and vehicles. And she wanted the world to know. Last I've heard of her, last anyone's heard of that story, right? Well, I was so fascinated by this that I put it in my book, and I did give a preface saying that, I didn't speak to the lady, but it's just too fascinating to not incorporate, because the Russian government has declassified many of their UFO and USO files, USOs being underwater submerged objects. Mm-hmm. And in one of those files, and this is a very famous story, so some of your audience may know of it already. I put a lot of things in here that were well known so people can easily find them, to do their own research. So basically, the Russian government has their own Navy. They had sent Navy people training underwater down in the nearest ocean or whatever. And while they were there, they saw what looked to them, they described as extraterrestrial beings dressed in these suits. And they surprised them, and they were afraid of them, and they came out of the water. And they went and they told their superior officer. And the officer said, go back and try to catch them, or words to that effect. Oh. Yeah. So here they go. And it's really not a funny story. I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. But here they go back down there. And they see them, and they try to catch them, and they're thrown out of the water. I'm not sure how they do it. I've heard, with a gun or some kind of power. They were sent out, and 2 of them did die, and 3 of them were injured.
You mean the Russian guys, the Russian Navy
Russian
people?
Guys, sorry, not the ETs. These beings were very similar, I thought, to this lady's description. Maybe not the same beings at all, but it is a true story. I take it as true because it is a declassified file.
Yeah.
But that wasn't all. They also talked about an incident where they saw a UFO over the water, and the beings were coming down, I guess, some kind of ladder thing and going into the ocean, and the people standing right there on the beach watching them, and they were just ignoring them and going in. And thus was another sighting. So, yeah, we have documented information, if you take the Russians seriously, and I do.
Yeah.
Of these things occurring. So someone's down there, but that begged the question, are those anomalies? Are those same beings that came from, and visited South Africa? Did they go into the water? Now, because those beings could live on land or water, and they were seen going into the water after they were done with the South Africans. But who knows? Maybe they came out and left the planet. I don't know. But the idea is that, too, we're seeing so many UFOs or USOs around water these days, all right? Half of the Russians' documents were about USOs. People are seeing them go in the water and coming out. And they're getting closer views of the ships because they have to, submerge. And it's not just the governments, it's people on beaches just out for a holiday. And there's people in ships seeing lights moving under the water. And the Navy seeing objects on their radar. Even Christopher Columbus talked about seeing what he referred to as lights or stars going into the ocean. Okay, so it's a thing, and I did put some locations in my book of where they can be found. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but I can tell you that Florida, California, are in there as hotspots for U.S. Oh, so the idea is that there are beings in the ocean, possibly extraterrestrial or intraterrestrial. The intraterrestrials could be beings that have been here all along, which would still kind of be extraterrestrial to us, right, in a way. So I say intraterrestrials could have been growing alongside, evolving alongside mankind all of this time, or they may have come from space.
Well, we're going to go out for a break. So, listeners, we're going to take a 6-minute break. You've been listening to Life in the Hologram with Constance Victoria Briggs and Madeline Rudy and Caroline Bell Tumblety, and we'll be right back.
All right. Thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
We're back, and you've been listening to Revolution Radio, Life in the Hologram, and we're here today with Constance Victoria Briggs and my co-host, Carol Bell Tumblety. And just to remind you, like they did on the commercial, that we are listener-supported, so get your little donation books out and donate some money. If you're buying a Starbucks coffee, we're almost less than a Starbucks coffee.
Yeah.
So put that one cup of coffee in for a donation so you can keep us all on the air. And we have a live stream coming up soon. And we want to wish Caroline's daughter, Willow, a happy birthday today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she's already in her bed. It's after midnight here in Scotland.
Oh, she aged already.
She did. But thanks for that, Madeline. And we have a terrific guest. I can't believe how fast that first hour went. And we were talking about the oceans.
Yeah, and we want to let you get some time here to promote your book and your website and everything that you do. You got lots of books. You can see behind her, she has 1 million of them.
Yeah, I don't believe everybody.
She's writing and writing and writing. Her fingers are getting sore.
Tell the people tell them how they can reach you.
Okay. So my books are on Amazon, like everything, right? And or if you can't find it there for whatever reason, you can get it at Adventures Unlimited Press. I'm very proud to say that my publisher and editor is David Hatcher Childress of Angel Aliens, and I'm just happy that they wanted to publish my cosmic books. You can get them at Adventures Unlimited Press, Amazon. I do have a website, which is ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com. If you have any questions, you can just send me an email through that. I spend a great deal of time on Facebook because I have pages up there, Moon Mysteries pages, where I talk about all of this moon stuff and post videos and pictures and stuff. That one's fun. I have Constance Victoria Briggs Galactic Mysteries. So that kind of covers, I just opened it. It's going to cover all the Earth galactic stuff and what's going on in, the solar system, what's going on Earth, all the weird stuff that, you might be wondering about. So, yeah.
It's a good connection for people to reach out to you, and make contact with you. Yes.
On Instagram, newly on Instagram, there's not much up, but I'll be getting stuff up, and I'm trying to get stuff up on TikTok.
Or they take it down.
Yeah, they might. Yeah. That's new for me, but I'm working on that.
Yeah, everybody's on TikTok now, and of course, it's poisoning the children's minds.
Yeah, I don't know very much about it. I haven't spent a lot of time there. I've just been told, get an account on TikTok, and I still know
it's poisoning our children's minds, and they're taking all our information. Like they already don't have it, right?
Right. Well, maybe it's not such a good idea to be on it after all.
I don't know. YouTube is starting to do like these shorts. Like you can do like it's short reels where you can take like whatever video you have and just take like a little bit and just do like a 1 minute, 2 minute, like so that kind of draw people in. Yeah.
I've actually started making recordings for YouTube. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I'm trying to get a collection of recordings, and they're like no longer than 5 minutes.
That's great. Yeah.
I'm going to put them up eventually, but I'm working on that.
Multitasker.
Yeah.
My kids are grown. I can do it, right?
Yeah. She's a busy lady.
Yeah. So we went through the oceans. Now, how does the hollow Earth theory connect to the extraterrestrials?
Yeah, the hollow Earth, you would think that it would end with the oceans, right? One of my goals in writing this book that I didn't mention before was trying to show how extraterrestrials have touched every corner of the Earth. We are, it looks like extraterrestrial owned if you get into the research and the information. So there is someone down there, or more than one down, race of beings within the hollow Earth. Now, again, some of these people, and I say people, or I don't know what they look like, but I imagine most of them are humanoid. Could be extraterrestrial, and they could have been there the entire time that we've been on the surface. Or they could be extraterrestrial, where there, again, are beings that came from the galaxy and went inside the Earth. Now, it gets a little bit complicated because, you'll say, Constance, well, which is it? How can it be both? It can be both. We can have, just like we're saying, we're being visited by extraterrestrials on this Earth's surface. There could be a group of humanoids that have been there the entire time, but also extraterrestrials came in because, number one, and this is so strange to some, is that it's looking like Earth is hollow in a lot of areas. The moon is believed to be hollow. The moons of Mars are thought to be hollow. A hollow planet seems to be a thing in the solar system, and who knows where else in the galaxy. One scientist said, it looks like we're living inside out. We're living the wrong way. That, there should be that we should be inside the Earth if we want to avoid worldwide catastrophes, such as being hit by an asteroid or a meteor, or some kind of devastating Earth-wide catastrophe, radiation, I don't know, the sun going nova, something. I mean, we've gone through a lot on this planet. The idea is that inside is safer. So you could have, very well, extraterrestrials that are escaping a dying sun. Or, who knows, some kind of politics on their world. Who knows? And came here and went inside. For safety reasons, to escape humanity, to escape catastrophes. So, there could be more than one group of people down there, just like there may be groups of extraterrestrials, not just in the waters, but are living around the surface that we don't know. We have not touched all areas of the Earth with our technology. There could be other beings here besides the tall whites and the Nordics. I hear there are Nordics here, which are similar to the tall whites. And although I hate to say this, there's reports of reptilian beings that came from outer space that are here, that have been here for years. They're thought to want to take over Earth, and that's a whole other thing. That they're here, and some of them are thought to be inside the Earth. There have been a lot of cases of sightings of reptilian humanoid beings, and a number of them have been seen in the caves and things.
I was going to say in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they're getting into the hollow earth in Antarctica, or is that a whole different story?
That could be one place, but from my research, I have learned that there are several openings around Earth, and that they could be coming and going, and openings that we haven't discovered yet or know about could also be out there. There's this one place in Vietnam. I talk about it in my book, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's kind of a little bit complicated for me. But yeah, so this one cave is a world on its own. It was not discovered until recently, and the whole entrance has been there the whole time, but it's kind of covered over with trees and bushes and things. But this thing has its own ecology. It has its own kind of animals in there. It has a lake in there. It has pearls that are strewn about the ground. It's a world all to itself, and it looks like a kind of what we would expect inner Earth to look like. And it goes on for miles and miles and miles. And who knows where this thing ends. But it was discovered just recently, and that is an opening we didn't even know was there. So there are said to be other openings around Earth, and that beneath the Earth there are caverns that go on forever. And not just caverns around the world. We have found, and I don't know if they're connected to any extraterrestrials or intraterrestrials, but there are what look like cities that go on for miles and miles and miles. I don't know if there's a connection, but there are stories of people that have found their way into inner Earth, and they swear that it's there. The most famous case is that of Admiral Byrd, who you guys know is like a great story. I don't know if he was talking with intraterrestrials or extraterrestrials. We don't know where those beings came from. They just said they've been there forever. But I don't remember them saying where they originated. And he was a decorated military man, and he saw and spoke to these beings, and they told him that we needed to basically, again, straighten up, up here on the surface. We're causing all kind of chaos. There's another story of, so there's this man, he's famous for writing, I forget his name, I think his last name might be Shaver. I guess it's Shaver. He was writing the Shaver Mysteries. I guess that was the 1950s, and he said that he visited Hollow Earth, and he came back, and he based his books on this. And that was interesting. And so there were people that followed his lead to go down there to try to find their way down, and they did. And they said that they came across these beings who said they had been in inner Earth from the time of Noah, and or words to that effect around some great flood, the Great Flood. But when they got down there, there was already advanced technology down in inner Earth, but nobody there, which they took over. And the question is, where did that technology come from? Was that extraterrestrial placed? Who were the beings? But the idea is, that reptilians have been seen down there and other beings, and that there have been ships that have been seen going into volcanic areas, and, UFOs. And then there's an account, I have him in my book, this man who went for a ride. Yes, there are people who out there who say they have encountered extraterrestrials and ridden on ships. He said that he went for a ride on a ship, and he went, it submerged, and it went into an opening, under the water that led into an area that led down into the hollow earth. So obviously that was a ship, and it wasn't ours. So yeah, there could be extraterrestrials and what I call intraterrestrials, which I equate with extraterrestrial because they're still really foreign to humanity.
Well, don't you think they would go in the Grand Canyon too? That there's some kind of opening in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, why not?
Because there's places in the Grand Canyon that people haven't even reached yet.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in the Grand Canyon. I mean, they have found artifacts and things that they're trying to cover up there, and there's also, cryptids, seen around there and going on. And you don't know how deep this goes, right? I mean, here's what's also really interesting, ladies, is that a scientist a few years back located water beneath where we're walking above water, like they're saying more water in the oceans on Earth, and the valleys and mountains underneath. And somebody said, well, where there's water, there's life. So it's not, we're talking about ships being seen going in volcanoes and disappearing behind mountains and things and looking like they're going into, the submerged ocean. They may be going into caverns they're submerging and going to caverns under the water. Really, really interesting. And the idea is that they could just be avoiding humanity for a while.
For a while. I think they gave up on this group on the top of the earth.
I don't know.
Yeah, do you think that maybe they're in a different dimensional field and that's why not everyone sees them? Only some people?
So I think that there's a whole lot of going on here. I think that we do have, people that are traveling the galaxy and that we can all see and that are, for whatever reason, not making themselves known yet, but also interdimensional, I actually don't know a lot about, and I haven't really written about that because I don't know, but I think they could be. When some people have talked about seeing you, like, when they're looking up, some come and hearing kind of, opening, and they theorize that it could be interdimensional. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that we, humans cannot see everything around us. All right. So I think from some of the stories that I've been told personally about people seeing other beings, that there are beings on Earth that we can't see that aren't necessarily extraterrestrial, but that dwell here too. But also there could be interdimensional beings coming and going right here on Earth, and I'll tell you a story. So I was reading a book many years ago, and I believe this was written by Mr. Paul Eno. And these people, long story short, these people had purchased like a townhome, and it had some kind of house. It had a basement, and it was a couple and their son. And their son had gone into the basement after they moved in, and he saw two young people there, two kids, and he said they were dressed in what looked like blue jumpsuits, but nothing that was really, he could tell they were really different. They didn't really belong here on Earth, and he kind of thought maybe they might be ghosts. But he didn't understand what he was looking at, so he ran and told his parents. They came down, they didn't see anything the first time. The second time it happened, and he got them, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll go look. They saw them. And there were these two kids, I don't know, something like 8 or 9 or that small, and they looked frightened to death. They were scared at that they were seeing these people, and then the people in the house were frightened at seeing them. All right? And I just wonder, they were not ghosts. They were very solid. And they, eventually they disappeared, and I wonder if the dimensions are bleeding together and crossing over, So, yeah. Now, could they have been on a whole different world, and kind of came in? I don't know. But, yeah, that could be a thing going on. But I just don't know any more about it than that.
You're muted, Madeline.
I said they could have built the house on some kind of portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yep. Quite possibly. I got what is the cosmic freeway?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another one of my favorite subjects. And it's a name I gave for what I feel the extraterrestrials are using to visit Earth. So if you listen to our scientists, some scientists, not all, they'll say, there's just something. There's no way we can be visited by extraterrestrials because the universe is too vast. They just can't come across, and get here. It's it's too vast, it's too costly, takes too much energy. There's no way we're being visited, even though we have all these people talking about ships with photographs. They're still saying it, right? I believe that because there may be or are advanced worlds out there, that there are some groups that have the science and technology and ability to come across our universe, and I believe it could be through wormholes, stargates, and portals. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not such a far-fetched idea, because if you go to the NASA website, they talk about a time where they hope to have wormhole technology to go across the universe. Now, again, if we're looking at others out there, they may already have accomplished that.
Yeah. I think they have.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but in our ancient past on Earth, we have stories of what they call doorways, of people coming and going through these doorways, which were clearly portals. And they said they called them gods, were coming and going, not flying ships even, just walking through these doorways and coming back. So it's not even a new idea. And there are some areas around Earth that are said to have held these stargates, we can call them stargates, and some of them are non-active. I wrote about them. And then there was one that is known, they're saying in Iraq, there's a stargate that is known. Some people believe that that's why there was a war, and that, the governments somebody was trying to get a hold of this thing and learn how to activate it. So I talk about those, but that's my cosmic freeway, what the extraterrestrials may be using to come across the universe, and it's not an idea that we don't have ourselves, that we would like to work on eventually on, crossing the galaxy.
They say that it takes like how many light years to get here?
Yeah, I can't remember. A lot.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if they're going through those wormholes, does that mean that they get here faster?
Short holes
than light years.
Shortcuts through space. Yes. It could be a thing. Like I said, not
like a time tunnel.
Like folding space.
Zoom.
so I think that if that is the case, I don't believe that it's just willy-nilly, that, you can just go in anytime you want. I mean, I don't know, of course.
Maybe you have to have an appointment.
All of this is theory. I'm sorry?
I said maybe you have to have an appointment because other ships are going through.
Right? I think so. So I believe that there are, galactic, what I call galactic hierarchies out there that are in charge of the cosmic freeway. I mean, even here on Earth, we have freeways that someone is running and regulating and fixing, So if that is the thing out there, that would explain how they're getting around and how they're coming here. And also, they may be regulated. Not only that, the cosmic freeway, but I just want to throw this in here before I forget. It could also be that Earth I always say part of a real estate. Is there real estate in the galaxy? Earth may actually be owned by someone, and we may be, regulated too. I just wanted to throw that in because I don't know that is a question anyone would have thought of.
I wonder who the owner is. Do they have a deed?
I wonder.
Because they're talking about, us just not being in a position even to defend ourselves compared to what extraterrestrials may be able to do us harm. So is someone protecting us out there? Is it a hierarchy? Are we owned by someone or something? I wonder.
Well, I heard, a long time ago that they were having galactic fights as to who was going to get the Earth.
Yeah. The battle for Earth, I talked about that in my book. So there's a lot of food for thought here. One of the beings group of beings is the reptilians. Guys, these, I never wanted to really even look at them for a long time and acknowledge that they might exist. But I'm comfortable with the idea that there may be beings out there that look not like us. In fact, some of the gods of ancient times, such as in Egypt, really may have looked different. So the reptilians are an ancient group, and they are believed that they should have Earth, that they were there, here first, and that they would like to take it. And that they may be part of the battle for Earth. And they may be fighting galactic hierarchies or a federation out there. There may be a federation. It's thought to be a federation out there. The Galactic Federation, it has a lot of names, but that they may be protecting us from nefarious beings and asteroids. And it may be them that are turning off nuclear weaponry. There's been rumors of that. It could be that we are protected from them, the reptilians, and who knows who else. So I have a very interesting story out of, I believe it was ancient Greece. It could have been Greece or Rome, ladies. I get the two ancient histories mixed up. But the people in our ancient past were meticulous about keeping records and for future generations to see. And there is a story in there. In fact, there's a number of stories where during those days, and when I say ancient, I don't mean the days of the toga wearing. I mean
past that.
in history. They were seeing things in space, UFOs in space. They called them flying shields because they didn't have a reference to UFOs and airplanes and things. So they called them flying shields. They were well familiar, with shields when they went to battle. This is what they call them. So there are some records of shields fighting in the skies.
Wow.
And they recorded it. On one occasion, there was a group of monks getting ready for some special religious holiday. And they said that these things were clashing. They could hear noise in space. And, they went outside and they could see a battle going on. And the building was rocking, and the doors, were shaking open, and they heard a voice, and they recorded it. It said, "The gods are leaving." And I'm sitting there, I'm doing my research and I'm doing my writing, and I'm thinking, they heard a voice that said, "The gods are leaving." Was that sarcasm? The gods are leaving. So they were clashing, they were fighting over something, and they sent these people on their way, whoever was out there that they sent on their way. Yes, they did, and they recorded that, and it's in their history. It's in their records, their ancient records. Who were these gods? Were these people that were coming in and posing as gods? I mean, that's a thing around the world, right? But still, yeah. So that's a battle. That was, to me, I'm wondering if they were battling for Earth. The other battle for Earth that I think is going on with extraterrestrials is trying to save the Earth from us. They may be somehow ready to battle us, and I don't mean with weapons. I mean trying to convince us, all right, that this is not the right behavior by sending in emissaries such as Alex Collier. And Alex Collier said he's not the only Andromedan representative here on Earth. I think he said there was like 5 or something. And there could be others around the world that are coming in trying to convince humans by living alongside of us that we're behaving in the wrong way. I would say it's not working.
Yeah.
It's a losing battle, but that is another battle for Earth. Mm-hmm. Could there be a Star Wars-like galaxy out there where people really are, fighting for control of worlds? My son told me he doesn't want to live in a galaxy like that. But, I'm just sorry to say that it could be a thing. There were scientists, I think I wrote about this in my Moon book. There were scientists that talked about how they were seeing these weird explosions going on in deep space that shouldn't be there. And it looked like there was a battle going on in deep space. Mm. And not to say that they were battling over Earth, but just that they said that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes you really wonder, and also the Galactic Federation and a couple of others, also mentioned in my book, were born out of what is thought to have been a galactic war. And they said there wasn't peace, there was not peace in the galaxy for many years, and that these federations and alliances were created to keep peace. So there's stuff going on out there. Now, where do I get this information? Well, we have people who said that they are in touch with extraterrestrials. Even our government has been said to have had meetings with extraterrestrials. They have been around. They are here. They're just not known to your next door neighbor. And the other thing is that it said that they are using social media and the media and books in any way they can without interfering so much in our lives. Before they have to step in, they're educating us to the fact that we're not alone. They want us to know this, and some of the stories, like that of Gene Roddenberry, I always talk about this, my favorite. He was the creator of Star Trek, mm-hmm. and he was said to have been sitting in on channeling sessions with extraterrestrials who said, with a lady who was channeling them, and these beings, these star people, said they were from different worlds, traveling on a ship, trying to keep peace, and they were here in Earth's vicinity, and he created, the idea is that he created Star Trek from those channeling sessions. And, this is the most successful science fiction series ever, right? And I'm a big Trekkie. And people are more open to the idea of there being different types of beings as a result of Star Trek. Yeah. Well, this is a way it is said that they're educating us for that inevitable day when we are going to all come face to face, all of us, not just a handful here and there, with extraterrestrials.
Oh, I think we already have. I think we already have.
I mean, like on a mass basis, a mass where, we will see the ships in the sky, or we will be introduced by the president, to this person.
Well, everybody's fighting all around the galaxy, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Get your acts together.
Well, it's my understanding that for the most part it is peaceful compared to what it could be. It's not 100%. But, everybody's not fighting. There are some worlds.
Yeah, that have peace.
That have peace, that don't know anything about this, that are highly, evolved, like the Andromedans. They're a very good example from the information we've gotten. They are very peaceful. They are advanced with technology. They don't even use money. If you listen to the information given to Mr. Collier, they don't have money. Everybody, has what they need, and they focus on learning, education, science, the arts. But they're a peaceful world.
I think we could be too. I think we could be a peaceful world if we focused on those things.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's what some are working towards, right?
Absolutely. Peace. I'm ready for it. This violence, this seems alien to me. This doesn't seem I've always had that feeling though that that's not human nature. That something is added. It's no part of who we are. But this has been fascinating. I love this. I could listen to this forever. Because I'm learning, it's a lot. It's a lot of information, a lot of research, and it's great work. So it is. So I'm going through your questions here. I want to make sure.
Well, that's what I always said. Every time I have a guest on, I learn so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because a lot of people, they have different views and they've written different books, and there's always something new to learn.
Yeah. It's like a big puzzle that we have. And it's the pieces, everybody's, there's people like Constance is giving us puzzle pieces to put together.
Well, I do think that we need to think out of the box.
Absolutely.
And not just accept our, the traditional information that they are saying, we don't really know, but, they don't know how the moon got there. Okay, for example. So let's figure it out. Let's talk about it. They really don't. I grew up thinking that Earth had captured the moon in its gravity. Nope. They don't believe that. And then they had the big, forgetting the name. I'll call it the big whack theory. That's one name for it, where they believe that that a planet the size of Mars hit the moon, hit the Earth. And that the Earth was broken and spewed out into the universe and created the moon. That was, the latest theory of how it came to be. But if you go on NASA's website, they're saying, we kind of think that that's it, but we don't really have proof.
We don't know.
Right, they don't know.
Well, they know, they're not saying.
Yeah.
So, the thing is this. Why not talk about it? Why not research it? Why not figure it out to the best that we can instead of just walking around in ignorance? And what if we are in a position where ships start to appear in the sky and we haven't told anybody? People don't know that, there's even people talking about it. All right? We need to be more open and pay more attention to what's going on around us, but we need to have conversations. Crop circles. I could tell you stories on crop. I had some crop circle stories to tell you. But crop circles, I believe, should be, there should have been meetings years and years ago about these things. What are they? Why are they here? They have so many people convinced that crop circles are a hoax.
I know.
People actually believe that there is someone or some people creating crop circles
in the middle of the night.
Now known as crop formations because they're not all circular, that are several football stadiums long. Several overnight, they believe this. For all these many years.
Well, they're nuts.
They've been convinced of this because they don't know that they're that huge. And they don't know the intricacies of how these things are made. And it's because of two people who basically said, we did this overnight years and years and years ago. I don't even know if these men are still living. And they're still going. And it's not just one country. There are several countries.
Yeah.
Are they saying that people are getting on airplanes and flying around and making these things? Are there all these crop circle experts in all these countries that want to pull a hoax where they can do this thousands of miles across overnight?
Yeah, and they have some kind of lasers to lay the wheat down.
What do you think?
Formations.
How do you think they're being created? Like, there's stories about seeing lights in the fields. Like, there's different stories that I've heard. Like, when there's people have seen lights, and then there was a crop circle in the morning. Like, what do you think? What do you think is doing it? Like, or how do you think it's being done?
I know that story. At least one or two of them where balls of lights were witnessed. A couple of people were sitting on a hill and saw these things come up and kind of whip around and start making these circles. So I do believe, of course, that they're ETs. I don't believe that they are people, and that they have, obviously, the technology. Now, why are they using the crop circles? Because there are many different kinds of extraterrestrials out there, and some of them are trying to reach us. Some of them can't land due to our atmosphere, perhaps. Some may be humanoid, and they have the technology to be able to walk around Earth and live in our atmosphere, in our environment, and some may not. And so there may be those that are trying to reach us, and they are using the grain fields as some sort of billboard. Now, I wanted to tell you before we run out of time, in your audience, I have homework for your audience. They can go and look up the crabwood crop circle, okay? The crabwood crop circle, when I first saw this thing, I thought it was a hoax. I thought it was created by CGI or something. I can't tell you how long I went in my life without looking at it or taking it seriously because crop circles are not my expertise. When I finally got around to learning about this thing, oh my God. So the crabwood crop circle appeared on August 16th, 2002. And this thing showed the head of an extraterrestrial. All right? He looked very much like a gray alien, although, people say it's a gray, but I think it kind of looked a little bit different, in my opinion. People can go and look at it, and you can just Google it, and it comes up. It's not a big secret. The thing is huge, but next to him, he's holding a disc, like it looks kind of like a CD disc, all right?
Yeah,
and
I see it.
You can see the grooves in the disc where there's a kind of message written in there. And the message says this, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Now, someone deciphered this. They were able to decipher or decode this thing. And that was the message. Who they were talking about, we don't know. Were they talking about a different group of extraterrestrials? Were they talking about the extraterrestrials that are rumored to have visited, America's government and other governments. Because there is a rumor that did happen.
Val Thor.
Yeah.
Thor, too, yeah. And so maybe they were warning against that, but we really don't know. Maybe something's going to happen in the future. We don't know. Whoever they were doing their best to try to communicate with us. And they put a picture of themselves, and they put what looked like a disc or a CD there. We recognize that. And we were able to decode the thing. All right? Maybe they can't land. Maybe they can't come out. They're just a different form of some other being that have been able to land and be here. And I'll tell you about another one. This one is called the Arecibo crop circle, Arecibo. Now, this one is a little bit more lengthy to talk about. It is in my chapter under signals and clues and messages. We are not alone, science signals, messages and clues. Anyway, talk about the Arecibo formation. Now, what we did, to make a long story short, because we're running short on time here, is we sent out from observatory in Puerto Rico and message into space. We do send out messages into space hoping to get answers. Well, this thing went out. And it gave, it held all of our information about our DNA and the population on Earth and how we looked. And, it was kind of a strand of information that was sent out. They thought we would not receive anything back. And if we did, we wouldn't receive it for, I don't know, hundreds of years. I'm actually forgetting how long they expected, but it was a very, very long time. And if I'm correct, it was something like 25 years as opposed to, hundreds, that they received a message back, something like that, something like 25. We received this message back in the form of a crop circle. I should say crop formation because it wasn't a circle. And they sent back their information, how many people were on their planet, their DNA strand or whatever you call that thing. They answered us. And, for someone to say that is a hoax is just ridiculous because, number one, it was such a complicated answer. There's people not generally living around grain fields that, know this kind of science and technology. But that's the way they answered us. And you can look it up, Arecibo. That's an easy one to find. And that was a message to us about their world.
I remember that. I remember it was they're different. Like they're different. They have it was different DNA strands. I can't remember if it was less or more, but I remember they gave information. Yeah, it's fascinating. I find it fascinating. And for some reason, when we talk about the lights, like plasma balls, we also see lights going into the water, Are we talking like the same, or similar? What's on the fields, what's doing the crop circles, could be going into the ocean, could be living in the ocean, could be living outside, interdimensional, so many questions.
Fascinating stuff. And, if people only really knew this information, then I don't think we would have any doubts out there as to whether or not we're alone in the universe and if we're being visited. I'm very happy to say that there are so many people working on this stuff, like having this show, for example. And I don't mean me being on the show. I mean just in general. The fact that, we have these avenues to get the message out. The books out there to get the message out. Social media. Facebook has all kinds of interesting pages up by people just putting up, what they've seen out there. This is really important stuff so that humanity isn't caught, just in total ignorance in case, something does happen. And I mean something positive in case they come to visit and say, take us to your leader,
No, forget it. We're not going to do that.
Wow.
I'd rather take them to your house.
Yeah, it might be safer. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any questions? Because there is something I do want to touch on too.
Go ahead.
When you're done. Yeah. So we have had astronauts in space, and I say astronauts from around the world, well, for whatever country has astronauts, have, in my book I talk about some experiences they've had out there and seeing things too. And I don't think that, your average person is up on what cosmonauts, for example, have seen out there. They're not up on the NASA astronauts either. Our astronauts saw, if you believe we went to the moon, they all saw strange lights or ships on the way to the moon. And some of this stuff is so well documented. There was one, I think it was the Apollo 15 or Apollo 17, where there were two UFOs right next to the Saturn V as it was taking off. Mm-hmm. All right, that's been documented. And I mean, one of them, I don't remember the name of the mission, but one of them was something flew by the command module, the main ship, and it caused them to kind of spin and turn a little bit out there. And they thought it was going to be a collision with a UFO. Okay? Mm-hmm. They've seen things. There was one astronaut that came forward. He was not an Apollo astronaut. This was a shuttle astronaut. He said that he witnessed one of his, and I don't understand. I guess he was up front and he had walked to the back or something. And he saw one of NASA's astronauts talking to an alien being. He said the alien was dressed in a kind of a suit, and they were having a conversation, and the thing was very tall, 9 foot or something, and he was shocked, and he came back and he wrote about it. I don't know if he did it immediately, but I don't think that our astronauts are lying. Mm-hmm. There was another astronaut that was so convinced that, that there are beings out there that he went to the authorities and talked about it. There are, tales of the cosmonauts that encountered UFOs out there. One interesting story was where in the 60s they went up and they were being blocked for whatever reason from flying in space. They said these UFOs were, blocking them from moving, and they turned around and went back to Earth. So all kinds of encounters out there. There's the one, you may have heard this one, where the astronauts saw, people have variously called this space worms or something. It wasn't a worm. Okay, it was some sort of ship shaped like in this kind of shape. He came back and talked about that as well. Those are just some of the stories.
That sounds like one of the petroglyphs that Jeff Wheelwine talks about. There's like the one that they have that's like the serpent. So it is like that's seen in the skies in Arizona. Pretty regularly. Did you hear about, and I don't know if it was cosmonauts or astronauts, but they saw angels?
Oh.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
I love that story.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So, wow. The cosmonauts were on their ship, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but they, have their space thing out there, and they had 3 living on it back then, and yeah, they said this orange. The 3 astronauts witnessed this orange glow come through the portholes or little windows or whatever, and they looked out and they saw what looked like angels that were as large as jetliners, and they could see them really well. They could see the features, and these what appeared to be wings, and they called them angels. Yeah. And so they recorded that, and then they reported it, and then after they left, they had to be replaced by 3 other people, to come in and monitor the space station. The same thing happened to them, a couple of weeks later. They saw the same things, and they refer to them as angels. I don't know if they were angels or some sort of extraterrestrial being that resemble angels, or if they were beings taking on the guise of angels, or if they were angels.
Right.
But they all saw, they have 6 names of people, some very famous cosmonauts, and it is an amazing story.
Well, we're almost over here, Constance. Give your contact information again, and we so appreciate you coming on the show. We'll have to have you back again real soon.
Thank you for having me. So my website is ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com. Or, if you have questions, it's okay to email me. I have a special email for people, cvb@ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com. And Facebook, I'm all over Facebook. You can just like or follow me. And Instagram, I'm getting up and going, and we'll see if TikTok stays up. But I'm trying to get over there, guys.
Very cool. Yeah. So is there something that you would like to leave the listeners with? Is there a message you could maybe give them?
Yeah, and I've said it earlier. I think that we should think out of the box about things, question what we've been, taught, because there may be more to the story. I think that people should be doing their research and, listening to these shows and reading the books and, keeping up.
An open mind.
Yeah. Anything is possible.
Yep.
Just There's to let music. You know who's coming on next week, Sherry Clements and Phil Line. And we're going to talk about all great different things, how to make a Merkaba, different healing things. And thank you so much, Constance. Thank you, Caroline. And stay tuned for Caroline's show. Coming right up.
Thank you.
Bye.